Hey guys, DMS here. Today I'm talking about an all-time classic in the audio community. It's been around for a really long time, but is it still worth it today? Let's find out. So this is the legendary Sennheiser HD6XX. As many of you who have followed the channel for a long time may know, I've had one of these for a minute in one way, shape, or form as the HD600, the HD650, the HD580, the 58X, the 660S, and of course this, which closest resembles the HD650. Now all of these headphones are very similar. There are changes. The 660S and the 58X kind of go a little bit more out there than these do, but the 6XX for all intents and purposes is basically an HD650 plus or minus a decibel here and there. Now, this is a really simple headphone. It's a relatively high impedance, but still easy to power. Dynamic driver with a driver that's very close to your ears. It's made out of very wobbly plastic. It has very high clamp force out of the box. It's completely open back and has these velour pads that you have to replace on almost a yearly basis. And now that doesn't sound like a great combination of things, but this is a pretty cheap headphone. This one is 200 bucks, and as many of you probably already know or have read somewhere, this has been recommended to basically everyone at one point or another. Now, even with its high clamp force, this headphone does wear in, and it's actually extremely comfortable. This is one of the headphones that I can wear for an almost infinite amount of time because it's extremely light, and if the clamp force is a bit too much, some people choose to bend this metal piece out a little bit, but if you do that, just please be careful. These can break. Now there's a couple things that the HD650 and 6XX do that's very special, and I'll talk about the HD600 a little bit here too. The reason everyone loves these is because they're affordable. They are extremely transparent to the amplifier for their price, which means that the sound of your signal chain is going to heavily influence the sound of these. If you're using something that's going to sound bright, these are going to start sounding bright, which is interesting considering these have a bit of a darker tonality, but I'll cover that in a minute. If you use these on tubes, they really come to life. They're not a very wide sound, they're very intimate. Vocal presence and mid-range texture is out of this world, and while it's not the most resolving headphone out there, it is pretty resolving for its price. But mid-range is really the name of the game with this headphone. Treble rolls off relatively early, though I'd say smoothly. It's not a harsh roll off. Bass rolls off pretty early too. This isn't going to be a thumping sub-extension monster. It's pretty tame in the bass, even though it has a bit of a warm-leaning sound signature. But one thing I will say about this tone and this mid-forward headphone is that it's very pleasing. It's not very harsh. In every way, the HD650 and 6XX are comfortable to listen to. You can give them a good bit of volume, and the highs are never particularly sharp and piercing. The bass doesn't get fatiguing because it's not very impactful. So it's an interesting trade-off for a headphone that's very comfortable and not fatiguing at all, but is very relaxed in its sound signature. Now, the same goes for the HD600, though not quite as much as this. The 600 does have a little bit more treble, it's a little bit less warm. I personally prefer the sound of the 6XX and the 650, and the 6XX really is the better deal here. That said, I'm gonna have all these headphones linked in the video description so you can check them out after this video if you want to, as well as a few amplifiers. Because like I said, this headphone is very transparent to amps. I very much enjoy it with the JDS Labs Element 2, with the Atom Stack, with the EL2, and a few other amps. It's actually fun with the new Asgard too, because that actually gives it a bit more of a V-shaped sound, which kind of levels out the bass and treble a little bit, which this is not a V-shaped headphone at all. And if you really want to have fun with it, pick up something like a Little Dot Mark II. It's a push-pull tube amp that's pretty dang cheap on Amazon. I'll link one of those also. There's actually a video coming out on that tube amp pretty soon. It's super cheap, pretty dang decent, has some interesting characteristics, so make sure you stick around and subscribe because you don't want to miss that one. The 6XX isn't the most detailed headphone. There's things like Sundara that are pretty great. It's a dynamic. You're not going to be getting an extraordinarily exciting and out there and crazy sound, but it is a headphone that's affordable to almost everyone, and it is very easy to daily drive. And it's why this headphone in some way, shape, or form I have owned for probably the greater part of 10 years. For all of the exotic headphones I've had, for the oddities and the focals and all the other things that I've had over the years, the electrostatic headphones, I've always kept one pair of these around. For a brief period, I didn't own one and it drove me insane. And there's something about it that just isn't quite replaceable. It's just nice to have a headphone in this series sitting around to use every now and then. And for me, it's more of the experience of it's a headphone that I use on a probably almost daily basis when I'm just either editing video, playing games, or listening to music casually, and when I really want to dig into a crazy detailed experience, I'll whip out something else. For just my general purpose listening, I don't always need the most detail in the world, and sometimes I just want a warm, relaxed experience with these on some tubes. And for that reason, yes, the HD6XX and 650 and 600 are absolutely still worth getting in 2020. And I still highly recommend them to pretty much anyone watching this video. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you liked this video, please leave a like down below and a comment. Let me know what you want to see in the future. If you want to get active in the community, you can at forum.hifiguides.com, and I have shirts if you want to support the channel. Those will also be linked in the video description. As always, don't forget to stick around and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Until the next one, guys. Peace.